What's up, guys? Nicola13 here with a review for you guys. Just came back from our independent show in Providence, in my backyard. And before I get into the review of the show, I just feel like I need to put this out there for you guys. A lot of people push WWE as being the main product that they watch and stuff like that, and then some people will endorse TNA and stuff like that. But there's the independent promotions out there, like ROH and New Japan Pro Wrestling and Noah and PWG. Those are the big independent pro wrestling events that everyone knows. But there's little territories that are still out there, companies that are very, very small and have some of the biggest independent talents out there. And that's what you really need to support. It's good to be a wrestling fan and support WWE and TNA. But if you don't support the indies, there's not going to be the future for the WWE and TNA and other companies out there. You really need to hit the independent scene and go to one of their shows, buy the merch. The merch doesn't help out the company; it helps the wrestlers, because the paychecks that they get from going to these independent shows, they don't cut the bills. They don't put everything on the table for them, and wrestlers are just regular people that love this sport. They're not just wrestlers. A lot of them are fans of the sport themselves, and that's why they love doing it so much. And that's why I have no problem admiring and putting into the product itself and buying merch and supporting independent wrestlers, is because I'm a fan of pro wrestling and I love pro wrestling, and it's something that I want to continue on and get better. And the best way to do it is to support them financially, put in the merch and stuff like that, going to the shows. And I just had an awesome time tonight. It's the first time that I've ever been to a Beyond Wrestling event. It's actually the first time that I've ever heard of the company, and I didn't even know that it existed. For the longest time, I know that there's independents out there like CZW and PWG, Pro Wrestling Noah, ROH, and stuff like that. But I never. There's several. I don't even have an excuse. There's several small independent companies around the Northeast where I live. And if I learned anything tonight, it's the fact that I need to broaden my horizons and go to more independent shows, because I truly enjoyed myself at Beyond Wrestling tonight. Americana 14. It's their biggest show of the year, and my friend was telling me I picked a great show for it to be my first show, and I honestly did pick a great show for it to be my first show. I'm not going to go through the whole card, because it was just from top to bottom. The card just didn't stop. There was like no rest matches. We even said that even after the show ended, we ended up going to this to the weenie joint around the corner called New York Connection, or whatever the fuck the name of it. It's in Oneyville. It's the #1 hot dog in Rhode Island. And we just sat down for an hour and just talked wrestling, because there's not that many times where I get to sit down and truly talk about pro wrestling with other pro wrestling fans. I'm lucky enough to have a best friend that's very close to me. He's like 10 minutes away, Tremaine. You've seen him in my videos before. I've gone to shows with him before. He's a big wrestling fan. I'm able to share that with him. My cousin too. He watches wrestling here and there, and I can connect with him. But he's not into the product like I am. I watch Raw and SmackDown, TNA, ROH, PWG. Tremaine's that kind of outlook, and I'm kind of branching out. I've reconnected with a friend from high school today, and it's just connecting with other pro wrestling fans, and then they have their friends that are into wrestling, and then again you get this click, throw it up. But and it's fun to talk wrestling with other people that had the same passion for you. And I think that the independents are I'm laughing, I'll get to it in a minute, but the independent wrestling, it's like the small crowds at a game. There was like 400 to 450 people at the show tonight, and it's so close and connected. It's like you share this bond with the other people there, and it's just an experience that you don't get from going to a WWE show when there's thousands of people in the arena. It's an arena, and I was in like a music hall that holds 500 people. It's a whole different atmosphere, and it's just, I find it much more special when I go to an ROH show or an independent show, because the arena is so much closer and you're right there in the action. and it was just awesome being there. I met a bunch of wrestlers from the independent scene. I'm just gonna go over this. I just got a couple things from the merch stand. I met the Young Bucks, and I got the Bullet Club T-shirt for $25, and I met Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson. I'll throw the picture up right now. Very, very chill. I told them how much of a big fan I am of their work and stuff like that, and they both thanked me for that. I was able to get a picture with them for free. They're really chill dudes. Before of anything, we walked right in the door, and the ROH champions right there, Micah Elgin. Walked up to Micah Elgin. They just asked him a few questions and stuff like that. He's a very humble dude. I asked him a couple questions. I was like, so I know that were offered a tryout match, and do you still intend to go to WWE? And he was like, yeah, but I have other goals that I want to accomplish before then, which I knew that it's true. And he in my mind, he's already done one. We know that he wants to be the ROH World Champion. He's the current World Champion, and he wants to be to Japan. He hasn't been there yet, so I know once he has those things, and WWE is very high on Michael Elgin, so tryout match with him, that's nothing that's going to be in the future. But he's a very humble dude, very down-to-earth guy.
I told him how much of a big a fan I am of Michael Elgin. He thanked me. Tremaine said the same thing. He ended up getting a T-shirt from Michael Elgin. Later on in the show, there was a surprise return of Eddie Edwards, and that's the third time that I've met Eddie. After they had the second intermission, I had the chance to meet Kurt Hawkins. He was also there. I got a photo with him and an 8x10 signed by him. I could have got this one or a newer 8x10. He called it the old school and the new school Kurt Hawkins. I ended up getting that one in the picture that you're seeing right now. Another very, very humble dude. A lot of these guys are very humble. They're regular guys that are just pro wrestling fans. That's the best way that I could describe it. One person that said that he wasn't going to be there was Michael Bennett, and he actually did come in after the Eddie Edwards and Biff match, which was phenomenal. One of the top 3 matches on the card. Top 3 matches. Just by this card was so stacked. I'm just going to go over it really quick. But just saying some of the matches on this card, you knew that it was going to be a great show. The main event was Michael Elgin versus Chris Dickerson, Dirty Daddy, and that match was the main event. And by the time that we already had the match right before it, which drained the hell out of me, was the Young Bucks, obviously Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, versus the Juicy Product, which is JT Dunn and David Starr. And that match was off the chain. I marked so hard. That was the first time I've ever seen the Young Bucks live and in person, and it was just draining me so much to see their match. Super kick parties and everything. I was marking out so hard, going bananas. It was just crazy. It was just surreal to see one of my favorite independent wrestlers. It was the same kind of thing when I saw Kevin Steen for the first time in 2012 at an ROH show in Providence. I just marked out for the first time seeing Kevin Steen. I never actually got to meet him face to face, but just seeing him in a match, that made it for me. And the first time I saw the Briscoe brothers in the ROH match, I marked out for them too. It's just like independent wrestling is just, it really sparks me more every time I go to a show, and I really, really enjoyed myself. I cannot even put into words how much I marked out and how much I just enjoyed myself being at the wrestling. This is the first. It was kind of like a PWG feel where they didn't have a barrier. You could go right up to the ring during the matches and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed it, that atmosphere of the match. I'm just speechless. I'm just repeating myself. But being in an independent feel, it's different from a WWE crowd and a TNA crowd. It's being at an independent wrestling show, it's so great, and I really think that everyone should support their local indies, and I think that is really the future. And main event, there was a spot, I don't remember the wrestler's name because I'm not really familiar with Beyond Wrestling, but he blew out the green mist, and I got a little bit on my t-shirt right here. It's not going to show it up on camera, but it's right there. Doesn't show it up because of the light, but I got some of the green mist and on my 8x10 right here too. Right there. So that was cool. And then there was actually 2 injuries during the match. During the Best Friends with Trent Beretta. Best Friends with Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor versus Team Tremendous, the first time ever. Trent Beretta actually popped his kneecap out, and I can actually show you the picture because he tweeted it out. But they had to end the match early just because
he hurt himself obviously because he couldn't continue. But let me just pull up the picture really quick. His knee out right here, on this side right here. Obviously you could tell, but he popped his knee out. So they had to end the match a little bit earlier, and then when Michael Elgin finished his match, he cut a promo, and he said that Eric Dickinson is a very tough motherfucker, and he's the first guy that he's ever been kicked so hard that his shoulder came out of place. So he popped his shoulder during that match. So there's 2 people that were injured during the card, and it was just a very surreal match feeling. And I'm definitely gonna go to another Beyond Wrestling show. If you're in the New England area, I'd recommend that you go. They have another show August 31st in the same building. I believe it's gonna be at the Fett Center too, Fett Music Center. So if you guys are in the New England area, it's in Providence. Highly recommend the product. Go support it. And part of the clique, baby. Part of the clique. Throw it up, throw it up. Bullet Club. Big fan of the Bullet Club. Meeting the Young Bucks just made my night, and then seeing them in action was just another awesome thing. So I met Michael Elgin, met Kurt Hawkins, met the Young Bucks, and I met Eddie Edwards for the second time. I actually met Eddie Edwards two years ago at Boiling Point, and I got signed 8x10 and along with Sarah Del Rey too. And I told him that when I met him that this was actually the 3rd time I'm seeing you, Eddie. Met you at the 2 previous ROH shows that you were at in Providence, Rhode Island, and just very big fan of your work and stuff like that. I said thank you. Go support independent wrestling. That's what this video was about. I wasn't gonna go review the whole card and stuff like that, but support independent wrestling, and yeah, definitely gonna go to another show. But too sweet, baby. Love the Young Bucks. Throw it up.